Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the source of spirituality for the three Abrahamic faiths. Under the dome of the rock of Mount Moriah.
I sensed his presence.
Beneath the Temple Mount, the western or Wailing Wall.
This was a place where love abound.
Beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Rock of Golgotha.
This is a temple, the God we love abides here.
In Jerusalem, the three Abrahamic faiths coexist in an uneasy tension.
In his presence on hold.
Dr. Ali Kleibo, a Palestinian Muslim anthropologist, discusses a Palestinian spirituality that preceded Islam and Christianity. The original inhabitants of the Holy Land developed a spirituality found in sacred natural settings.
On holy
Such as hilltops,
and I know,
in caves and grottos,
I know there are angels all around.
and trees and rocks. One must search under the buildings, the mosques, synagogues, and churches, for the rocks and caves that hold sacred metaphors.
Praise God.
From the ancient stones of the Holy Land, with historical, architectural, and spiritual significance, emerged the living stones of contemporary Israel-Palestine.
In his sweet presence.
The stones of ancient Judea transformed into the Jews of modern Israel. The stone quarry of Golgotha transformed into present-day Palestinian Christians.
The sky went dark, thunder cracked, the whole earth shook, the sea rolled back. God is torn, the angels mourn, the sun has died, the light is gone. The Holy One has crossed the river. Strong men fear, the devil cheers, creation grows.
The stone house of the Holy Family transformed into contemporary Christians.
The vultures fly, his followers are mystified. The Holy One has crossed the river.
The ancient stones of Canaan transformed into present-day Palestinian Muslims.
Make me a channel of your peace.
The stones of the Haram al-Sharif became Muslim worshippers.
Let me bring your love. When there is injury, your pardon, Lord.
And from the Dome of the Rock emerged contemporary Muslims.
Doubt, true faith in you.
In present-day Jerusalem, the living stones come together under the tensions of occupier and occupied, sharing geography and history, but separated by faith, politics, and culture.
Life in the Middle East does not draw a line between politics and religion. The two are closely intertwined and have been so since time immemorial. Religion can be a source of tremendous spiritual strength, but religion when misused and translated into action by people of power, can also become a deadly weapon. Naim Atik, Palestinian Anglican priest and founder of Sabeel.
The political history of the Holy Land has been one of invasions and the displacement of people. The Hebrews escaped slavery in Egypt and wandered in the desert as a nomadic tribe before displacing Canaanite authority in the Holy Land. Surrounded by desert, this fertile land contained pine trees in the Judean highlands. The waters of the Sea of Galilee and the River Jordan, all of which made the Holy Land appear as a land of milk and honey. The Holy Land attracted others, and the Hebrews withstood invasions from Assyrians and Persians, but were taken captives into exile by the Babylonians. At the birth of Jesus, the Hebrew kingdoms of Judea and Samaria were Roman provinces ruled by a Roman prefect from Caesarea Maritima on the Mediterranean coast. The prefect was Pontius Pilate. While Pilate remained in Caesarea, Herod, the Jewish client king, kept order in Judea for the Romans. Under Herod the Great, the temple in Jerusalem was expanded. The west wall of the Temple Mount provides evidence of the immensity of this structure. Thousands came to Herod's impressive temple to worship during the high holy days. In Jerusalem, one can still walk on Roman roads. Paving stones and columns are more evidence of a Roman Jerusalem. Today, Jewish youth socialize on the ancient stones of Jerusalem's primary road, or Kordah. The Passover procession of Jesus of Nazareth entered Jerusalem through the east, or Lion's Gate. Jesus rode on a donkey, and crowds waved palms. His nonviolent movement mocked the power of Rome. In Jerusalem, Jesus would be crucified, and the resurrection experience would create a sect of Judaism which would become Christianity. 3 centuries later, under Constantine, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire.
Jesus Christ is risen today.
Roman basilicas, once centers of pagan worship, became Christian churches. While Christianity was becoming established in Rome, in Israel the great Jewish uprising of 66 to 73 Common Era was crushed by Rome. The temple was destroyed, only the Temple Mount remained, and Jews were dispersed as slaves throughout the empire, part of the Jewish diaspora. The Arch of Titus in Rome commemorates this event. Jewish prisoners are shown as the spoils of victory. In the 7th century, Arab desert tribesmen from the Arabic Peninsula spread Islam to the Holy Land, replacing the rule of the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire with a caliphate. Islam became the dominant religion of the Holy Land, but Muslim rulers did practice toleration toward the Palestinian Christians, who made up about 20% of the population, and also a remnant of Jews who remained in the Holy Land. Both Islam and Judaism consider Mount Moriah as sacred. There, God directed Abraham to sacrifice his son as a test of faith. There, God provided a ram for the sacrifice. And on Mount Moriah, God made a covenant with Abraham. Because of this sacred encounter, the Jewish temple was built on Mount Moriah. The sacredness of Mount Moriah also refers to a vision in which Muhammad on his black stallion made a night journey from Medina to Jerusalem, entered the temple grounds through what is referred to as the Moroccan Gate, and from the rock summit of Mount Moriah ascended to heaven to make his covenant with God. On this site above the rock of Moriah on the Temple Mount, the Dome of the Rock, Islam's third most holy site, was built. Near the Dome of the Rock stands the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is open for public prayers, in contrast to the Dome of the Rock's restricted access.
Was a guide for all people and a mercy to the universe. Was a guide for all people, God's peace and blessings on him.
Accompanying the spread of Islam, mosques with their minarets became common sights throughout the Holy Land.
It was a seal of the prophets, the last brick in the house of prophethood. Was the last of the prophets, God's peace and blessings on him. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
The Dome of the Rock and the surrounding grounds, Haram al-Sharif, are a showplace for Islamic architecture.
Of the poor, always helping widows and orphans, a great patron of the poor, God's peace.
Classical Islamic architecture with pointed arches, elaborate lacework, and brightly colored complex tile patterns are displayed on and around the Dome of the Rock.
He was a striver against evil, and he fought and he won to give rights to all people, God's peace and blessings on him. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was a stranger to this world, for his aim was the hereafter. He cared little for this world, God's peace and blessings on him. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Last night I slept a troubled sleep, and in it all I dreamed was walking in a garden, such beauty I'd never seen. The pleasure of just seeing.
In the 12th century, European crusaders came to the Holy Land. They left their marks on the stones of Jerusalem and removed the Muslim leaders. The Crusaders established Christian principalities and built churches on top of Christian holy sites.
Holy ground. You're walking in his garden, keep looking all around. I could see his signature on everything I found. The garden murmured softly, I could hear the sound. Remember where you came from, this is holy ground. I was drawn towards the center of the garden as I walked. It seemed to me that someone kept murmuring in my thoughts. The tree of life in all its glory, wonderful to see. Stretch out your hand and eat of it. The voice.
The Crusader rule lasted a relatively short time and was subsequently replaced by the Ottoman Turks. The Holy Land once again became a province in an empire. Palestinian Christians and Muslims, as well as a remnant of Jews, remained in the Holy Land under Turkish rule. But in Europe, Jews of the diaspora faced discrimination and were forced to live in segregated ghettos. The first ghetto was established in Venice, and the church papacy in Rome gave its blessing to the creation of Jewish ghettos. The practice soon spread throughout Europe. The Treaty of Versailles ended the First Great War, broke up the Ottoman Empire, and awarded Palestine to Britain as a trust territory. A Second Great War, World War II, followed by only 2 decades. The Second Great War saw the Nazi final solution, resulting in the Holocaust, with deaths of over 6 million Jews. In the aftermath of this war, the United Nations, in 1947, created a Jewish state in the British Trust Territory of Palestine. The Zionist movement begun by Theodor Herzl in 1906 had culminated in the establishment of the Jewish State of Israel. A civil war ensued, called by Jews the War of Liberation, and by Palestinians the Nakba, or destruction. The 1948 Arab-Jewish conflict resulted in a loss of Palestinian land. Palestinians were displaced to camps in Gaza, Jordanian territory in the West Bank, or internally within Israel from the coastal plain to hill cities like Nazareth. Nazareth grew from a small Christian town to a large, predominantly Muslim city.
وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله دام طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله دام. Oh, the white moon rose over us from the valley of Wada, and we owe it to show gratefulness where the call is to Allah.
And in the Jordanian West Bank territory, Palestinian displacement increased the population of Ramallah and Jericho.
وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله دام.
In 1960,